you a home grower looking for a little bit of help? Are you ready to learn as much as you can about your favorite hobby? The Homegrown Helpers brings you informative interviews from experienced growers that have taken the next steps in their journey and decided to help you grow top quality cannabis all in your home. Now welcome in our host, Rob Smith, along with this week's Homegrown Helper. And welcome to the show, everyone. Are you ready for this week's grow tips and tricks from another homegrown helper? Yes, me too. First, we have some housekeeping things to do. We have some asks of you, our audience. Like any other podcast that you listen to, we only grow when more people find us. And more people find us if you rate and review and subscribe and share with your audience, with your circle of friends, our podcast. So we have to ask you, can you take a moment, if you like what you heard today or on any of the other podcasts, make sure you click that subscribe button at the top of your iTunes or Spotify. And also make sure you share it with your circle of friends or directly with somebody. Directly with somebody is how we found the most impactful way to reach the next person. They don't want to just see it shared on your Facebook. Just reach out to somebody who you think might be able to benefit from this type of information. Ratings and reviews are also another way that people are able to find us organically when they search for a cannabis growing podcast. Also, if you don't know already, this is the second podcast in the Growcast family of podcasts. And if you haven't given a listen to Growcast, I really, really wish you would. That's where I did my first podcast interview, and Jordan interviews lots of industry leaders and entrepreneurs from all walks of the cannabis industry, and also brings you amazing grow advice via the show regulars like Wolfman and Michael Travers. So head on over and give Growcast a listen. You can find it at growcastpodcast.com or any podcasting platform that you listen to. So before we get on to the show, this is kind of a cut over because we've changed the name of the show. When we started recording these episodes, before we even launched, we named it The Grow Geek Show. And every time I went to say it, it just wasn't sitting well with me. So we have changed the name to The Homegrown Helpers. And that's how you found us now, is we're The Homegrown Helpers Show. But you'll hear references throughout the interviews to the Grow Geek Show, because I didn't go back and just change up the entire interview or do the interview over. I did re-record the entire intro for each of the podcasts, but I didn't want to just chop it up and make it sound like I pieced together an interview. I wanted to give you the raw and real thing. So disregard all of the mentions to the Grow Geek Show and instead plug in the Homegrown Helpers into that subconscious brain of yours. So you can find us at thehomegrownhelpers.com or thehomegrownhelpers@gmail.com if you'd like to email us. And we are primarily on Instagram at thehomegrownhelpers. So let's get into the interview. What do you say? What we're all about here at the Homegrown Helpers is helping you become a better home grower. If you're in the market for a consultant, somebody that is going to come to your house or somebody that can give you one-on-one advice, that's what we're here for. We interview the consultants of the home grow industry, people that have lots and lots of experience in a variety of growing settings and have decided to help spread their knowledge and help you and all of our listeners and lots of their friends learn how to grow better cannabis. So if you're in the market for somebody like that, if you like what you hear from either today's guest or any of the other guests, you can reach out directly to them or reach out to us at thehomegrownhelpers@gmail.com, and we can link you up with the homegrown helper in your area for either a phone call, a video chat, or if you really need somebody to come in and troubleshoot that problem or just help you get set up and started. That's what these guys and gals are here for. So send us an email at thehomegrownhelpers@gmail.com if you're in the market for a homegrown helper. And now that we've gotten all that stuff out of the way, let's welcome to the show today's homegrown helper, Jake.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Jake, why don't you start us off with an easy one? Why don't you tell us where you're from and how long you've been growing cannabis?
We are from Vernal, Utah. We moved over here 4 years ago to start growing cannabis and hemp. I had a back issue. I herniated my back and couldn't walk. We needed to find treatment without painkillers. And
you did that through cannabis, correct?
Yeah, I'm able to walk now with cannabis and hemp. Where when I moved over, I would pretty much drag my legs about everywhere I went.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you mind me asking, are you medically better or just managing the pain?
Medically better. Hurting your back, they put you on painkillers and antidepressants and everything else, just trying to get better. And by taking cannabis, I no longer have to take antidepressants, anxiety pills, or painkillers. Outlook on life's a lot better if you can move around.
Yes, absolutely. I know that all too well. I'm getting ready in 2 weeks from today, when we're recording this. I'm getting my second hip replacement done. So I will be right there alongside you with using cannabis over prescription pills to manage that pain. So Jake, what made you decide to take the leap from just growing your own cannabis and deciding to get into the consulting game and helping others learn how to grow?
I've seen a lot of people that have asked me questions, and even when I got into this field, asking questions myself, I didn't find many answers. And the answers I did find was usually from growers that have grown other things, as far as maybe growing in soil where I'm growing in hydro, or maybe they was growing in a different type of hydro, or maybe they really didn't know how to grow at all and they're just saying stuff. I found in this industry, it was kind of a little bit of a stoner industry when I started, not much on the business end. I came from the engineering background, owning a company for the last 14 years. So I was in a different landscape than this business. To get into this business, you have to learn a lot of what people are trying to say and not really what people are saying.
Yeah, we're not quite all the way out in the open, are we?
No. And so if you can read between the lines and usually get what the growers are saying, you can pick up little bits here and there, but you really don't get all the knowledge from just one person because you don't find many people that know how to grow. And have done it for a long time because of the business we're in. A lot of people are just in the small home growers and maybe growing 1 or 2 plants a year. And you get a little bit of knowledge from that, but you don't get a knowledge like if you're growing 200 plants per year.
Yeah, the turnaround, the flips, if you're just growing outdoors, keeping track of what you're doing and trying to remember that going into the next season is critical. But if you're growing indoors, you get 5, maybe 6 harvests a year. And that perpetual nature is a whole lot easier to improve upon if that's really what you're looking to do.
Yes, because if you look at strains, not every strain is going to be a good strain for indoors. Not every strain is going to be good for outdoors. I've grown over 200 strains myself, and there's some strains I would never grow indoors again. It depends on your lighting. Some things grow good under LED lights, and some things grow good under like an HID light. Not everything will always grow. Get your best quality bud from your light.
Yep, that's the truth. Every grow environment can cause your plants to respond differently. Every grower can cause your plants to respond differently. Definitely one thing to work through as you're beginning to learn how to grow. So, Jake, tell me about your current grow setup. What's the size of one of your rooms? How many plants you have? What type of lights? What type of soil? Give us the rundown.
Well, right now we're gearing up for the hemp season. So I'm growing mostly all mothers right now for our hemp fields. Our building is an 1,800 square foot building. We're growing in about 900 square foot of it. We're growing around 20 different hemp strains. And right now, we're not growing many cannabis strains. In the summertime, it's better to switch over to the hemp and get the hemp production going for what we do. Our hemp fields, we grow about 20 acres. So we're looking at about 1,500 to 2,000 plants per acre.
That's a lot of plants.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to growing that much hemp and that many plants is almost a full-time year-round job, isn't it? You grow cannabis and help other people grow in between all that, huh?
Yes, we keep busy pretty much year-round. The first year I moved here, I worked 20 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week for the first year, between studying and growing and helping people. Now we're down to about 16 to 18 hours a day. A lot of people coming into growing think that it's really easy. I found with all my, even with my engineering work, this has been the hardest thing to do that I've ever done. Talk
about that a little bit. Why do you say that?
I think because of the lack of knowledge and that's out there, and how much can go wrong in a grow. You're looking at hydro. You're always you're looking at your roots. If you get spider mites coming in the summers, or fungus gnats, or any of your pests, you have to be able to take care of them immediately. When you first start growing, you hit fungus gnats and you see a few gnats and you're not even worried about it because you've seen gnats before. You wait about 3 weeks and all of a sudden you got so many gnats in your room you can't even breathe. The first gnat I ever seen, I was up for 3 days. I didn't sleep. I read everything I could read. I pulled out Jorge's encyclopedia, pulled up YouTube. By the third day, I had them all killed.
There you go.
If you're not on top of things can go bad very fast. A lot of people really aren't on top of things. And in hydro, I can have all my plants die within 6 hours and not have an error. So if you're not on top of every little aspect, things go bad really quick.
Yeah, we've heard that from many growers, and myself included. You got to make sure that you put the time and the effort into growing your plants. If you take a day off, just make sure that your plants are prepared for that day off. This is gardening. This is farming. Get in there and take care of your plants when they need to be taken care of.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, too, think this is just a hobby. Job that you can make a lot of money, spend a little bit of time, and just your hobby, when it's actually almost the opposite. Anytime you're a good grower, you grow all day. Then at night, when most of your friends are playing and stuff, you're still growing. Your plants never stop. So you really can never stop until you finish growing.
There it is. So Jake, what is the most impactful thing that a grower can do in order to improve their overall plant health?
I think keeping a good root system. No different if you're in hydro or if you're in soil. If you do not have a good root system, you will not have good bud. Your flower will suffer, not only in yields, but in the denseness and the flower itself. A lot of people start getting root rot from overwatering constantly. Your plants will suffer. I think that's just my number one thing would always be your root mass. If you keep your root mass good, you're going to have a good bud.
Healthy roots equals healthy fruits, folks.
Yep.
Jake, what is the single highest leverage move a grower can do in order to increase their yield?
I would say trellising and holding up your plant, making sure your plant's supported all the way through. By holding up your plant, you reduce all the strength, all the energy it takes to build the stems, and you put it more into your bud. And that's probably I've seen where, good growers are growing the same plant right next to another grower. They're getting a half pound where the other grower is getting 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds, and it all to do with either trellising or supporting the plant in some way.
And now we're going to take a quick break for our sponsor, Atlas Plant Trainer. This is a perfect sponsor for today's show because Jake was just talking about supporting his plants for the biggest yields possible, and that's what Atlas Plant Trainer is all about. Click together this customizable, easy-to-use solution to form whatever type of supporting or training solution that you prefer to have in your garden. Head on over to atlasplantrainer.com, use the code GROWCAST to save 10% off your entire order there. Or if you're a member, head to mygrowpass.com or any of our websites and access our member portal, and you can save 20% off your entire order at atlasplantrainer.com. If you'd like to know more about our membership program, head to mygrowpass.com or thehomegrownhelpers.com, growcastpodcast.com, or homegrownjournals.com, and you can see our full list of vendors, all the discounts that you can get, our giveaways, promotions, and all the exclusive content from all of us here just for our members. So membership starts off as low as $8 a month and gets you access to all of these sweet discounts that you really can't find anywhere else, as well as a quarterly giveaway that is looking like it's going to be up over $2,000 worth of goods by the time we're all said and done. So head on over to mygrowpass.com, sign up, and we'd like to thank atlasplantrainer.com for being part of our vendor program here. Personally speaking, I'm a big plant energy guy, so supporting your plant before they absolutely need it is critical. If you walk into your grow room and you have a bud that's drooping down and have already hit the floor at that point in time, you've missed the boat in that plant expending more energy than it needed to. So don't let your plants do that. You know, if it misses out on that little bit of energy, support that plant, train that plant to exactly where it needs to be, to the exact shape, and then support it so that those buds stay where they need to be, up towards the light, and your plant's not spending any energy in supporting that plant up there. So that's a great tip, Jake. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's exactly right.
Do you have any unique grow tips or tricks that you'd like to share with the audience?
Probably on cloning. I know a lot of people try to keep their cloners chilled on their aeroponic cloners. I use my cloner and I keep it about 80 degrees. I use Hormex, Hydrogard, and a Clonex solution, and I usually get roots between 4 to 6 days. I know when I've tried to chill and keep it chilled, I ran into a lot of bacteria issues. And I keep running into bacteria issues. Not using bleach in your cloner will save you a ton of money. My first year, I probably lost about 80,000 in clones due to bleach. Bleach will stay in your plastic for up to 3 weeks. So if you're a heavy bleach cleaner, you're not going to get roots. I switched over to H2O2. Ever since I switched over to H2O2, I never have any problems as long as I use my Hormex, Hydrogard, and a little bit of Clonex solution or Bloom solution.
So I always used bleach for my cloning machines, but by heavy bleach usage, I probably only put like less than a cap full in the entire, probably 2 gallons of water there. So that's just enough to sterilize things, but definitely H2O2, which is hydrogen peroxide for those that don't know. But there's high concentrations of hydrogen peroxide that you can get at a grow store, way above and beyond the hydrogen peroxide that you get at your local drugstore. That's just for disinfecting a cut. The H2O2 for your grow room will disinfect anything. Isn't that right, Jake?
Yeah, I noticed when you use bleach, I mean, I was raised in a bleach home. You walk into my house, if it didn't smell like bleach, I was in the wrong house. So when I first got my cloners, I got my first cloner, everything worked. I probably had a couple hundred clones through it. I decided to clean it, ran it again. My clones failed. I'd had to have a few that were good, but most of them failed. So I bought a new cloner. Everything was good again. I went to clean it, same thing. So by the time I was up to 3 cloners, I was thinking there is something I'm doing wrong. And I've cleaned it 4 times. I've had my wife clean it 4 times. She brings it back. I rinse it out a few times. And I have found when you use heavy bleach, it'll stay in your plastic for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, I could start to get roots again, but it would take about 3 weeks. when we switched over to 35% hydrogen peroxide, that burns out in about 12 hours. So I would clean my machine, run it for 12 hours, and then start popping clones in there. And I've actually never not had a clone root since then.
All right. So different ways, different strokes for different folks, but definitely I would say if you use bleach, lighten up on your bleach.
Yeah.
So Jake, what's a character trait or characteristic of a person that is the most important for a grower to succeed?
I think you have to be a very clean and very detailed person. If you don't keep a clean grow room, you're going to have pest problems. And if you don't keep a detailed logbook of what you're doing, you're not going to remember what you did. You'll be able to look back on, I can look back on any grow I've done within the last 4 years and check my numbers and see if they're anything the same. So if I grow tangerine green 4 years ago, I don't really know what I should be hitting right now to be maximized as far as TDS or PPM or even on my pH. So if I keep good records, I can look back and kind of see what I did then, my yields, everything I did, and try to make it better for my next grow. And even though it's been 4 years since I grew that strain, I still know on my logbook what happened. I think without that, you're in the dark. And I see a lot of growers do not keep a logbook, and it's crucial.
Yeah, we here at Grow Geek Show actually suggest taking daily pictures so that if you do have to reach out to one of our consultants, that we can ask you for those pictures and then tell you or make it a little bit easier to help diagnose the problems with the plants, whether there's some yellowing of the leaves or some drooping or stunted growth. Daily pictures will definitely help somebody else help you become a better grower.
Absolutely. And going back to even the logbook, if someone was to call me and send me a picture, the first thing I'd say, well, what did you feed it and when did you feed it last? And what did you feed it maybe before? Because on soil, you don't always get the reaction immediately like you do on hydro. On hydro, I can feed something within 6 hours. I can tell you if it was good or bad. On soil, sometimes it takes 4 or 5 days, and then it takes 4 or 5 days to adjust.
Yep. Soil is definitely more forgiving than a hydro environment when it comes to what you are feeding it, for sure. So last big question here, Jake, before we get into our bonus content. Again, this is our regular podcast, free for all to listen to. And then we do have a bonus content that you do have to go to our website to have access to. We just ask that you give us your email address to gain access to it. And once you give that once, then you can gain access to all of the bonus content interviews from all of our growers that we have on the show. So Jake, to wrap things up here, what's the last bit of advice you'd like to give all the growers that are listening to you right now?
I hope every grower takes pride in their name and their product. If they keep that in mind, and keep in mind that this is medical, don't be spraying a lot of stuff. Don't be doing things that you don't want to eat or to smoke yourself. I find a lot of people will just spray a lot of insecticides like Avid or fluoride, and it's better to use predatory mites. Use organic stuff. Use stuff that when you smoke it, it's not turned into cyanide for your patients. That'd be my number one thing with any grower.
Great. So thank you very much. Jake, so thanks very, very much for your time today. How can our audience learn more from you, learn more about you, and connect with you if they'd like to enlist your services?
We're on Instagram at Banished Farms. We have email, banishedfarms@gmail.com. And we have a website. It's www.banishedfarms.com. They can get a hold of us on any one of those. Awesome.
Well, thanks again for your time today, Jake. And audience, we do need your help in spreading the word that we're doing here and the work that we're trying to help you do. So don't forget to share us with your friend. Give us a rating and review on whatever podcast platform that you listen to. And also subscribe so that you can get the latest interviews dropped right to you whenever we drop them onto iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify, however you're listening to podcasts. So to wrap things up, don't forget about that bonus content. Head on over to growgeekshow.com/bonus to gain access to the rest of this interview. We're going to ask Jake about 5 more questions, get a little more personal and more philosophical in the world of smoking and growing. So if you liked it and jived with what Jake had to say and want to know more, head on over to growgeekshow.com/bonus and download the rest. So until next time, this is Rob with Grow Geek Show. Happy growing, and we'll talk to you next time.